These 7 mindset shifts that take you from a single woman to a partnered woman. My name's Clayton Olson, and if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I'm a relationship coach who delivers insights via YouTube that cut to the heart of the matter to help you show up more authentically, more courageous, and more powerful in the relationships that you want to create. Now, the 7 mindset shifts that I've pulled together here, and I've got these on a document that I'm going to kind of go through one by one. I've pulled from a community that my teaching partner Jack Butler and I have created over the last couple years. We've got a community called Becoming the One, where our sole focus is to help single women get their relationships with themselves right so that they can go out into the world and create powerful, long-lasting, healthy relationships with a romantic partner. And we've got a number of different data points that have come in. We've worked with people one-on-one. We've surveyed them. We've seen people transition from single to being in a relationship. And there's a couple things that they all have in common. And so as I illustrate some of these points, I don't expect you to adopt them immediately as you hear them, but rather I'm pointing to them as signposts along the way on this journey. And maybe you've already got a couple of these under your belt. Maybe you have none of them. And wherever you're at, that's completely okay. There's no particular order either. These can arise in any order. So as I read through them, I'm not even going to put a certain amount of weight or pressure that you've got to get one before the other. So I'll just go through them here. And then if there's any questions that you have, feel free to type in the comment box below. Also, if you stay until the end, I've got a special offer that I want to put in front of you as a result of illustrating some of these points that I think you might find really beneficial if you're wanting to continue the journey and have more of these shifts be rooted in your reality and start to live from them. So the first mindset shift that takes a single woman to a partnered woman is she starts to feel okay being single. Being single is no longer a fallen state. It's no longer something that you are in any kind of disrapport with. And I talk to some women and they say, well, Clayton, I've been single for so long. I'm fine being single. I'm okay being single. But really what's happening is if we dive into the energetic there's still this kind of toleration of being single, this waiting, this impatience, this wanting it to happen sooner rather than later. And oftentimes it's that kind of dis-ease that we have with the present experience that can be a major block in us being able to show up and see the right man, see the right partner when they're in front of us, and also be able to present our best selves in relationship as well. So that's the first one, is they're not waiting for things to click outside of their life, but rather they are coming fully alive, fully present in a loving state of acceptance with exactly where they're at. Now, if that sounds like it's hard to believe or something that is out of reach, I would encourage you to just play with that idea and what would life be like if you really fell in love with exactly where you're at. The second one, they begin to feel a return of power back in their laps. So what happens is almost as a result of this coming into deeper rapport with being single, you just naturally start to make better partner choices. You start spending less time with the wrong men. You spend less time trying to change men and more time creating space in your life for the right man to step into your life so that you can say yes to it. So another ways of putting it in some ways is like you develop the courage to say no to the things that are not fully in line with you so that you can end up spotting the things that are fully in line with you. And this ultimately also comes down to these women also learn how to have powerful, firm, loving, and courageous conversations with the men in their life so that you can cut through the lack of clarity and find out really where a guy stands with you in a way that lets the wrong men leave and calls the right ones in. And that's a real key component here, is this return to power allows you to come back into a place where you can communicate your voice clearly, and not from a place of woundedness, not from a place of bitterness, but really communicating your voice connected to your heart and your mind simultaneously. The next mindset shift that single women make that turn them into partnered women is that they start to see relationship and dating as a path to spiritual growth, as a deep path to self-development, rather than some type of win-lose game where if they're not in a relationship or they're dating somebody and that fizzles out, that it's not some failure, that it doesn't mean that there's something wrong in dating. It doesn't mean that it's like a more wasted time, but they begin to adopt a perspective where they can metabolize all of the learning experiences that are coming their way, all of the different ones, whether they feel painful or whether they're pleasurable, and they can metabolize them into deep spiritual growth to allow them to become more well-rounded, integrated women. And that happens through seeing that dating and relationship is a playing field for you to develop a more integrated sense of being, rather than something that you need to go in and try to win at and get a partner. Because that's just playing out dating and relationship from a one-dimensional level, and almost always leads to anxiety, right? If we think we can lose. But if we see it this way, it actually has you realize that you can't fail. Everything is a learning experience. And so it has you play more full out without concern or protecting yourself in ways that stop you from being seen by somebody and de-escalating intimacy. The fourth mindset shift that single women make that take them into being partnered women is they start to let go of introjecting. Okay, so projection is when there's something going on with me and I project it onto other people and I'm maybe blaming them or saying that there's something going on over there. That also stops too, but this one I think is really important. This introjection is I'm making something out there mean something about me. It's meaning something about my worth. He's not calling back. He doesn't want a third date. He's dropped off the map. He doesn't want a relationship with me, or he does something that hurts me. The women who go from single to partnered begin to really see that they are in relationship with another human being that has their own wounds, fears, desires, values. And rather than just an intellectual understanding of this, because I'm sure you get what I'm talking about as I'm speaking, it's an embodied understanding of this, which actually allows you to be in relationship with reality, rather than trying to twist or conform or distort yourself so that you can be what you think this person wants, which ultimately takes you off of your authenticity and it takes you off of your power. The women that go from single to partnered, they stop doing this distortion, they let go of the introjection, and they allow a man's actions to mean something about that man and not them. The fifth mindset shift that I see single women make that go into partnered is that there's a complete paradigm shift around how life and men begin to occur to you. So there is a cynicism that begins to finally melt away. A cynicism of like all men are cheaters, all men are emotionally available, men are commitment phobes, men these days don't want relationships, there's too many options. All of those things that you could go out in the world and find evidence for if you're looking for it. And that's the problem with beliefs, is you will find evidence for these things that you're looking for. And they will just confirm and keep you stuck in this paradigm of being single. And I get it. I know that the cynicism is there at times because it's protecting you from putting yourself back into a dangerous situation where you may have gotten hurt really bad in the past. But that cynicism is also the armor that stops people from really seeing you, and it stops you from really being able to see the person in front of you. So in this new paradigm, the shift that happens is the cynicism actually drops, and there's a new grounded sense of optimism that comes up. And I'm not talking about fairy tale romantic optimism where we're in relationship with a fantasy, but more of a optimism that there are good men out there, that there are good men that I can trust out there, that you don't actually have to do anything to be loved by them, that you don't have to perform, that you don't have to distort yourself, that you don't have to overgive to get their love, that just you being who you are is enough in order for this person to come in and love and accept you. And that begins to take hold as a deep belief, and suddenly it allows you to really relax and truly be yourself in the relationship, which again, I want to always point back to that this is where your power lies in the relationship, is by being yourself. And the sixth mindset shift that comes about is that you start to see what you have deemed as weaknesses in the past as your most powerful qualifying tools to determine whether the man in front of you is basically up to play the same game. So an example of this is, I've talked to women in the past who maybe have certain values around connecting with a man physically before they're in a committed relationship. And there is sometimes an insecurity about that of like, is the guy actually going to want me if this is how I'm showing up, if this is the value that I hold? Am I going to be discarded, or am I going to scare the good guys away? And with this shift, there's a complete and total change that happens where you realize that that value is what actually makes you sexy. That value is going to be your strongest qualifying tool to pull out the men that have the same value system as you. And this is where you start to value it so much that you're willing to fight for it inside. You're willing to take a stand for it and not compromise yourself and end up losing yourself in the relationship or feeling crappy about who you are or how you're showing up. So the women that make this shift start to see that, and when I'm talking weaknesses, could be anything from an autoimmune disease. It could be something that is, they're taking medication for. It could be something that you have seen maybe in the past as something that is like a handicap. You get an embodied realization that this is the lifeblood that makes you you, and it's part of your uniqueness, and you can bring it to the table as an offering rather than something you need to hide. And that's a huge shift. That shift in and of itself is massively transformative. And finally, the seventh one, and I'm saving this one for last because here I am going through all of these different points, and I know that sometimes when people watch these videos, I see comments of, oh my God, there's so much work that has to be done in order to make this happen or to get into a relationship. I just give up. And the thing that I want to say that is kind of ironic and paradoxical about it is that the women who end up partnered make the shift where they realize that it's not more effort that is required to land the relationship that you ultimately want. In fact, it requires releasing a certain energy and frustration and anxiety and kind of doingness that has been blocking you from really being heart open and powerfully being able to present yourself out there on dates and in relationship and with communication and being sexy, charming, humorous. So they begin to realize that it's almost, there's a letting go of all of this stuff that makes it finally work, and that it's not your responsibility to make it work. It might be your responsibility to set things up within yourself and get right with yourself so that things can unfold naturally. And that might be a little bit of the work, but it doesn't require constant effort and exhaustion and anxiety to create the relationship that you want. And so the women that make this shift begin to trust life more. They begin to trust themselves more, and they start to actually have the felt experience that something has their back. And maybe it's them, right? Maybe it's them. Maybe it's their version of God, the universe. It's their unconscious mind, whatever you want to call it. Something begins to take root in your life and really begins to look over you and watch over you. And again, I think that can go into being something where it's your unconscious mind that's doing this. It could be that you learn to reparent yourself in a way to watch out for you. But whatever the case may be, the result is more trust, more surrender, more letting go, more relaxation, more fun. And all of these things that had seemed like such big problems at one state of consciousness just begin to dissolve. And now you've graduated to another level and you are thinking about other problems, new things that are much more exciting and much more expansive. So those are the 7 mindset shifts that take a single woman to being a partnered woman. And if you're looking for support in this arena, I want to invite you to become part of our Becoming the One community. My teaching partner, Jack Butler, and I have been at this for several years. Like I was saying, we've got several hundred members, several hundred women that have been through the program. And we typically offer it around $497 if you wanted to get all the material immediately. But right now we're doing a $1 free trial offer so that you can get in, you can test drive the first week of material. We give you some bonuses for free and let the program essentially enroll you, let the program sell itself. So I want to encourage you to dive in, take a look at the material. It's absolutely changing women's lives. We are getting testimonials on a very regular basis how there are women that have been in coaching, they've been in therapy for years, and this is the final piece that made everything click. There's something around the deeper work, the combination of the deeper work that we're doing in the program, followed by action steps, followed by the community aspect of just lovely, intelligent women who are there to support you in you becoming your best self in the realm of relationship. So this is the formal invitation. Feel free to click on the link below this video in the description. If this entices you, check out what's on the page there. And if it feels aligned, I want to encourage you to dive in, and I'll see you in the members area. And also, there's another thing that I want to put on your radar too. If you are looking for a free guide, if perhaps you're already part of Becoming the One, I just released a free guide, a new one on my website called The 5 Secrets to Create an Extraordinary Relationship that I have distilled from the last almost decade of coaching that I'm giving away free. So you can check that out too. That link is also in the description. So thank you for your attention. And if there's any questions, leave them in the comment box below. Subscribe to the channel and share this video with any other woman that you think might benefit. Thanks.